Have you seen the new luxury home options on 30A? I'm Sean Larson, real estate broker on 30A and the Nashville, Tennessee market, and I am out here today at Watersound Camp Creek, and I am going to show you over 6,600 square feet of luxury living out here. While we're outside, you might hear a little bit of construction sound, but that's a good thing. You know why? That means luxury homes are coming out of the ground. It's a short-term thing. This phase is going to be incredible. So let's take a look at the outside and we'll jump on inside and show you all the stunning finishes. What a spectacular day to be showing homes here on 30A, Florida. It is absolutely beautiful out here. And again, there's some new construction, so you may hear some saws, compressors, and hammers, but that's a good thing. Luxury homes are coming out of the ground. And again, this is out at the Watersound Camp Creek community. Look at this beautiful home, over 6,600 square feet. We're gonna take a look at the outside, go inside and show all the stunning natural finishes inside. Look at those garage doors. Beautiful finish. And you know, everybody wants something different when they want a home near the beach. You know, some want to go full on beach theme, and others want a home that kind of reminds them of home, but maybe with a little splash of beach. So on this one, if you look at that exterior color, it's just a really light pale blue on the accents combined with white. Love the color of the pavers here in the motor courtyard. Have your gas lanterns. Just a beautiful combination. And so it's a perfect blend of maybe what people think as home or traditional home combined with some beach elements. And you're gonna see the same thing inside with all the natural wood finishes, and then they kind of put some splashes of color in there. It is outstanding. Let's go inside. There are no nail guns or hammers or air compressors in there. And again, it's new construction. You know, it's short-lived. It's what makes a community build out. Oh, look at these lanterns. Isn't this beautiful? Look at that one on each column, and then you have one hanging. That is gorgeous. Okay, we're just inside those mahogany doors, and how is that for a presentation? You and your guests step right in, and that's immediately what you see. Is that not incredible? And we're gonna get to all that, but we're gonna start right here in the foyer. You know how we do the tours. We narrate and describe the features of the home, so we'll get all to the main features, and everybody loves to see the kitchens and the pools. But right here in the foyer, take note of how they designed that staircase. You know, it's efficient in the footprint that it takes. And traditionally, you know, you would see that staircase just walled right there. But look how they left that open. You have a cold air return in there, but more importantly, you've got a window in there that lets some light in. So even though that space might not be used for, you know, actual living space, it just looks so much better than just having that walled off. You know, it doesn't look as heavy. A lot of people, especially in beach homes, want the homes to feel lighter and brighter. And that helps accomplish that. And even the small details in the stair railing. And you're gonna note in all these homes that we look at on 30A, you know, everybody likes the homes light and bright. So the more design features you can incorporate that allow the light to pass into the home and not be captured or blocked, the better you are. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? Ceilings that are almost 30 feet. Cypress wood there, that is stunning. And that's what you see when you first walk in. Beautiful. Have your living room space, brick fireplace, floor to ceiling, wood mantle, flanked with built-ins. And see what I mean about the natural colors? And there's something just calming about natural finishes. In fact, when you think about it, a lot of people go to the beach because they want to relax. And what is the beach? Well, it's full of natural everything. You know, it's getting back to nature. So this design brings that inside. Give you a little preview of the gallery there. Your second level wraps around. Stunning. So you even have detail right here in the hallway. You've got your beams, again, natural tones. Beautiful. Okay, I won't make you wait. We'll go straight to the kitchen. Everybody wants to see the kitchens. Now, whether you're a cook or not, you can't argue that is simply stunning. Large island, you got your waterfall, spills over the edges there. Plenty of seating. Open floor plan that everybody loves, especially when they're at the beach. Because whether you're enjoying it for yourself or you have guests coming in, you know, people want to be connected with the spaces. You want your kitchen connected with your living space, your dining, in this case, also the pool area. Have your cabinet-fronted refrigerator right there. Double ovens in the wall. You know, now some places in the country, you know, some people might say, well, we use our double ovens once in a while. We use them once or twice a year for the holidays when people are over. But if you think about beach homes, you usually never have a shortage of guests wanting to come and see you. So it's easy to use double ovens regularly when you're at the beach because a lot of times you are preparing for a crowd. But that's, you know, that's a lot of the fun of going to the beach. You know, people are getting together. Maybe family that, you know, they've not seen each other in a while. Have your pot filler there. In case you're not familiar with what a pot filler is, it is a cold water tap that is over your cooktop, so you don't have to fill that big spaghetti pot in the sink and then carry it over. It's just conveniently placed right over the cooktop. If you look, even the tones of the cabinets are nice and natural. You know, it's kind of a subdued kind of green type color, not quite sage. It's kind of like a pale sage. Beautiful brass hardware. If you notice, you know, they kind of put some contrast in there. You have your base cabinets that are kind of that soft green, and then look at that. They're back to natural finish in the cabinet fronts on the island. Perfect design choice. Have your farm sink in the island, your sprayer. Just look at the view from here. So if somebody's working in the kitchen, you stay connected with everybody. That's beautiful right there. Sometimes in the video, you know, I'll say, hey, that's the magazine shot, just meaning that is something you would see in a magazine. And look at that right there. That's a magazine shot right there. Okay, so behind the cabinets, there is a surprise. Straight ahead of me, right there, between the double doors. There you go, additional prep space. That's even better than just cabinets, isn't it? Look at that. You go into a second prep space and look at all the storage in here. Uppers that wrap all the way around. A second refrigerator in here. Have your coordinating base cabinets. Have your microwave in the base cabinet. Keeps everything from becoming cluttered, and it keeps it from taking your upper cabinet space as well. That is absolutely fantastic. And if you look in the countertop selection, same thing. See that little bit of warmth? You know, it's not a cold veining, it has a little bit of warmth to it. And see, even that coordinates with all the selections of putting those natural wood tones in. Love the high ceilings, a lot of recessed lighting. If you've watched my videos, you know I'm a huge fan of a lot of light. Not only daylight that comes in, but I like a lot of recessed light. My theory is you can always turn it down with dimmers or switches if you have it, but if you don't have it, you can't turn it up. As far as spacing and sizing, if you look at this space, look at that. You've got a nice sizable table. You've got seating for 8 right there. You could possibly even push that if that was a round table, even space for furniture. And then you have glass sliders that open outside. So that is incredible space right there. Beautiful lighting selection too. Perfectly placed too. You wouldn't think as much goes into that, but it does. You know, every light fixture has a different distance from the ceiling that it should be hung, and getting that right is a talent. I see you looking at the pool. We'll get there. We'll get there. Off here to the right side, convenient to the kitchen and the living space. We've got a wine room. For those who like to enjoy it and collect it, glass fronted. So it becomes a design feature of the home as well. Glass swinging door, plenty of storage. And again, beautiful natural finishes. I like how they've, combined the shelving with the diagonal. Very nice. If we pan around, have a rear hallway, closet on the right, we have lockers on the left. In our house, we would call that the drop zone. You come in from the garage, you've got coats, backpacks, shoes, and what have you. In this case, probably some beach gear too. You come in, that might be where all that temporarily lands. And in this case, it is perfectly positioned right across from the laundry. Beautiful bright laundry. Love the colors they selected for the floating shelves and the base cabinet. Kind of that medium blue. But it's not a bold blue. It still has kind of like a softness to it. And combined with that brass hardware, it just looks perfect. Right across from the laundry, you have a powder for your guests. And see, sometimes powders, laundries, those are places, if somebody wants to play it safe with their finishes elsewhere through the home, sometimes these are opportunities to have some fun and kind of punch it up. And this is a perfect example of that. You have the blue tile. It almost has a little bit of a metallic look if you look in the glare there. I love that. Kind of arranged in a shell pattern. Have your gold wall mirror and vanity light. I like the surface mount sink too. And even the vanity, really soft tones, brass hardware. That is perfect. Perfect design for that powder. Okay, now if you've watched my videos, you know that I think garages are underappreciated. Garages don't get the attention they deserve. I absolutely love looking at garages. I like going in crawl spaces in regions where they build on crawl spaces. I just really think everybody needs to watch the garages because, you don't want it to be a surprise where you looked at the main features of the home, you loved it, you fell in love with it, moved forward on it, and then you found the garage fell short. Well, that's not going to happen here. Look at the size of this garage. Look how deep it is. And this is one thing I want to point out too. Now, if you have a door opener in your garage, chances are really, really high that your motor is hanging right here in the center. That's the way they've been for years. But newer designs now offer you the option where the motor is not hanging over the center, but instead is side mounted right there on the rod with the spring. And what that does, well, one of the major benefits, is it opens up the space immediately over the car. And where that can be important is if you're in an area that utilizes car lifts, and for those of you that might not be familiar with a car lift, it's very similar to the rack that a repair shop would have. It picks the car up. But if your ceilings are high enough, and maybe you have a toy car that is kind of shorter, lower profile, you can put a consumer grade lift in your garage and it doubles your capacity. So what you would do is you would pull the car on the lift, raise the lift, and you can park a second car underneath. And that is becoming more and more common. They're cost effective, and so here you have a 3-vehicle garage. You could turn it into a 6. Now granted, you're not going to stack 2 minivans on top of each other or anything like that, or 2 Defenders or anything like that. But if you have a shorter sports car, maybe a toy car that maybe you keep at the beach, You could put it on a lift, raise it, and then park your second car underneath. So that would turn this into a 6 if you had cars that worked for that configuration. And in that case, it's important to go ahead and have that lift motor already out of the way. So you're one step ahead. So there you go. That's the scoop on garages for today. Beautifully finished floor like that. Gives it a great look. Like the window as well, helps keep the garage bright. I just like bright spaces. Light level contributes to mood, bright spaces contribute to cheerfulness. I like that. Okay, just to keep you in the loop, because you know I like to keep your bearings in a video, we've just come back in from the garage. You have the laundry and powder in the hallway. We're back to the living space. And usually viewers can't get enough of the kitchens, living spaces, pools. So I'm giving you another round here on our way across the home. For those of you who are going to work at home or just need a quiet space, the office here is right off the living space. Doors, in case you need the privacy or you just need to shield a little bit of sound. And look how unique they are. The arches, look at the detail in the woodwork. Is that not so cool? And what else is in there? It's pop quiz time. That's right, glass panels. Remember we talked about you want to keep the home bright? Well, glass panels in your interior doors do that. So the light that's coming in through the office can come through, and the light coming in from the living room or living space here can go into the office. It just helps keep things bright. And glass panels are the perfect way to help contribute to that. Beautiful built-ins. Whether we're talking in offices, bonus areas, closets, anytime you have built-ins or that I'm referring to built-ins, that usually is going to mean that that was a custom build on site. Now in this case, base cabinet might have come from the cabinet company. Traditionally in a closet, if it's built in, that was usually done on site. So here probably the base came from a cabinet company and they did the uppers here on site. Absolutely love the color. Nice soft blue. Perfect for a beach home. It doesn't jump out and scream beach, but it kind of lets you know where you are. I love that. And everybody's opinion on what they're looking for is, like I mentioned, is so different. Some people really want the bold beach look, and that is perfectly fine. Some people want a little bit more subdued. That's fine too. So we're panning from the living space, came around the office, and look how nice and secluded the primary suite is. Let me just give you a point of reference. Came in from the living room, and it's kind of tucked away in its own hallway. And if you've ever had a primary suite that is in immediate proximity to living space, you can appreciate how this is kind of set off on its own. And look at the space. Similar ceiling detail to the living room. Got that cypress up there. Recessed lighting, ceiling fan already in place. I also usually try to give people reference on room size based on bed size. So you've got a king there. Look at that. You've got 2 nightstands and plenty of room on both sides. So that just kind of shows you the scale of the room. 2 windows flanking the bed there. Shades already in place. Large slider doors, opens up to the pool deck. So if you could crawl out of bed and take 10 steps and go right out there, why would you go anywhere else, right? Simply beautiful. Fireplace and coordinating brick to the living room. If you've noticed, light flooring throughout too. Lighter paint finishes, it all contributes to keeping the home bright. I love these doors. Look how rustic they are. I like that. And see, that's another kind of subtle touch, that reminds you it's a beach home, but it didn't go full on beach. I like that. Look at that presentation into that primary bath. That is stunning right there. Good floor choice. Not over the top. Really nice. Just to the left side of the hallway we were in, we have the first part of the closet. Look at all the built-ins. Have your dresser drawer stack, folding clothes, shelving, shoe racks. Look at that, plenty of storage. And this is what I was talking about, the built-in. All of this is done on site. Plenty of half-height hanging. Great layout. Same thing on this side. Plenty of hanging. And I like how high it goes too, because you don't need access to everything all the time. So sometimes you just want to put it up a little higher, and you'll get a ladder or a step stool when you need it. It might be a seasonal thing. All right, you ready for this? Look how stunning that is. That's another one of those magazine shots right there. All right, let's start on this side. Soft tones again on the vanities. Have your brass hardware. And look how that just complements each other. You also have the warm tone veining in the countertop. And look at the tiled wall. From countertop to ceiling. Same warm tones, kind of a shell pattern. That is incredible right there. Have your wall mirrors flanked with sconces. Beautiful. Have your makeup counter. Beautiful shower. Nice natural tone even in the tile. This is a perfect example of where it's kind of, natural tone, but the tile has a gloss to it, which is also kind of trendy. So they did like the perfect balance here. You have 2 wall heads, have your separate valves, have your sprayer, and then up above, you've got 2 rain heads. Perfect layout. Have your linear drain. And kudos to who picked that floor tile. That is beautiful. And look how cohesive it is. Everything, contributes to a single look. And that is a designer talent right there. It is easy to go pick a lot of things that you like, but when you put them together, they may not coordinate at all. It is an extreme talent to go pick many different things, put them together, and it has a cohesive look. And that does right there. That nails it. Come out, you have your soaking tub, window for plenty of light, already equipped with privacy glass. Anytime I show a tub in front of a window, everybody thinks, well, I can't have it in front of a window. Well, sure you can. There are plenty of options, for window screening, whether you want to do window treatments, privacy glass. Yeah, you can put a tub in front of a window, no problem. Perfect light fixture for this space. Gives a little bit of glamour. Like that. Come over to the second vanity. Same soft finishes, have your brass hardware. Wall mirror flanked with sconces. And look at that, from countertop to ceiling. That tile is just beautiful. And it's just so warm in here. It feels like you belong. When you come into a space, you know what I'm talking about. You go into some spaces and it just feels natural. It feels comforting. This is that space. Closet on the right side, we're going into another walk-in closet. What do you see up there? That's right, windows. Keeps it bright. Plenty of recessed lighting plus a hanging light. So you are not going to be short at all in lighting in this closet. All custom built-ins, full height hanging, plenty of shelving for either shoes or folded clothes. Continues on, you have a full-length mirror, light flooring. Again, all of this contributes to the space staying bright. Have your dresser drawer stacks. Look at all that. Beautiful. Yeah, I'll give you another shot of the bathroom. Everybody wants to see it again. And it's just such a comforting space. And you know, that's one thing with designers. You know, it's just not picking things that go together, but it's also picking things that set a certain mood. And so when you can pick natural tones that all go together, it creates a space that people actually want to walk in. And when they do enter that space, it creates a sense of calm. That is simply stunning. Just love how bright the primary suite is. Give you another shot of that fireplace. Wood mantle, I like it. I like that shaped firebox too. That's kind of unique, I like that. Okay, let's continue tour on the main level. I think we're heading toward the staircase. I think we might have covered the main level. We're gonna jump up to the second level and give you that stunning view from up there. See, like I mentioned when we first came in, that open space below the staircase. Now try to imagine that if they would have just framed that wall off and just sheetrocked it. See, it would have looked completely different. And so you've got the light coming underneath. You don't have a solid wall there. The window extends to the first landing, so you have additional light coming in there. See, it's just perfect design. You've got the wall detail. Again, keeps that from just being a solid, bland wall. Well thought out. So just starting with the foyer there, look at that light fixture. We came up the staircase, and it's a switchback staircase, which just means it goes up partially, hits a landing, and does a 180. Comes up to your landing. Look, love that flooring. It just keeps it so bright. All right, you ready for this? Look how awesome that is. Have your double hanging lights. Perfect decision on those windows. Have your slider doors and then look at the size of the windows above. And what's that gonna do? That's right, it's gonna keep it bright. So even from up here, if you just pan, look how awesome that presentation is. And you know, a lot of times when people come in, they don't exactly look up. They're focused on getting into the home. But look how incredible that hanging light fixture is. That is beautiful. So when you come up here, you truly appreciate not only the size, but the design of that. Upstairs laundry. Like that floor too. It's kind of like a herringbone slate, it looks like. Love that. Have your white cabinets, brass hardware, warm tones in the countertop material. Plenty of storage with your uppers. Keeps it bright, right? Got that window up there. Have your floating shelves positioned right above where your washer dryer will be. You know, that's so convenient too, to keep the soaps or the things you just need to quickly grab. And then you have the upper and base cabinets to store everything else. Straight into a secondary bedroom. Look at the size of that walk-in closet. You know, secondary bedroom closets are all treated differently. You know, sometimes they're not so large, and other times they are. And this is definitely one that is spacious. Look at the size of that. Plenty of hanging there. Have your tray ceiling fan, recessed lighting. Two doors that open up to a balcony. And then just to keep your bearings, we're on the front side of the home. Have a home across the street that's under construction. Beautiful complement to the neighborhood. Look at that. See, that's where all the nail guns and air compressor noise are coming from. New construction everywhere, which is fantastic. Dedicated bathroom. Love that floor too. Look at that. It's not quite an aqua, but I love it. Love the shape too. Perfect, perfect. And see, this is another place where, you can kind of have a little fun. Have that natural countertop there, but putting in that splash of color, in secondary beds, powders, media rooms, things like that. Perfect place. Beautiful shower. Natural finishes in here too. They stayed with the brass plumbing fixtures. This is nice too. For years, and still, the valve placement, just for reference, the valve is the part where you actually turn the shower on. The valve placement, and a lot of places it's still done like this, is in alignment with the shower head. You see that a lot, and sometimes that's still the place to put it. But in this case, see how convenient that is? You can turn the water on and then let it start warming before you are within the pattern or line of shot of the spray head. So that way when you turn it on, you don't get sprayed with cold water. Nice placement. You see that more in walk-in showers like this. If it's still a traditional tub arrangement, you're still going to see the valve in line with the head. But I like how they're kind of replacing those into a better position. Okay, just coming around here, caught my eye. Look at the size of the base molding. That is huge. And a lot of times in videos we talk about, trying to compare homes and what makes homes, apples to oranges and not apples to apples. And the size molding, it's amazing how much trim there is in a home, linear footage. So if you make one change in terms of molding or trim size in a home and it goes nearly throughout the home, that is a major factor when you are trying to compare homes. And that's no matter if it's base molding or crown molding. So here we're going into another secondary bedroom. You're going to love this one. Beautiful tile. This is the bathroom we're going in first. Look at that. Nice warm tones. And look at the size of this. This is pretty much a second primary bedroom and bath. I mean, this is just huge. And look at the tile. The tile goes all around the shower, over the counters, to the ceiling. They kind of glammed it up a little bit. At the same time, stayed kind of natural. You've got the gold mirrors, vanity lights, and fixtures. Come down, they stayed with the natural tones in the base cabinet. But it kind of presents, with a little bit of bling too. They didn't go over the top. Really, really nice balance. Same thing on valve placement. We just talked about that. So you have your valve. One is the valve. So your lower one is going to be the one that actually turns the water on. And the second one in this case would be a switch that would switch it from a head to a sprayer. So in this case, you have the sprayer and you've got a rain head above. And then you've got the wall head. So what you do is you virtually switch or divert the water from one to the other. Have your built-in niche for your bottles. Like that floor tile. You know me, I like small tiles like that. I love big 24 by 36s too, but there is something about those small penny tiles that I like. This is simply stunning. And again, this is a secondary bedroom on the second level. It's essentially a second primary, because wait until you see the size of the bedroom. Look at that. And again, for size reference, king bed, 2 nightstands, 2 windows. This is most likely the same footprint as the primary bedroom that's below us. And if you remember on that one, you had the fireplace on this wall, so it's probably the same footprint. In this case, look at this. You open up to a balcony. Look at the view. Look at that. So you wake up, 10 steps, and look at this. Is that not beautiful? Now we're back outside, so you might pick up a little construction noise, but that is beautiful. The whole deck, you have a fireplace, pool, stunning. Perfect vantage point for looking at the rear porch and outdoor living too. Look at that, tooth level ceiling in your rear porch. And see, by doing that, you not only add to the grandeur, but see here you have that second level of windows that we looked at in the living room. And by keeping this porch high like that, you're allowing the light to come in. In some areas, they'll do vault porches and it kind of boxes it in and starts cutting the light. But a couple things here. You've got this wide open space that opens up to the daylight. You also kept a bright finish within the porch. So for instance, look at that. See the light paint? You've got white, or it's just off-white just a little bit. And see, that keeps the white reflecting and it all feeds into those windows. So it's by design. It keeps that home bright. Have your slider doors, perfect sitting area. And then look at that, leads right to all your water features. Have your outdoor kitchen. That is stunning right there. Now sometimes we'll say, oh, this will be the perfect place for your morning coffee or evening coffee. This is your perfect all-day place. This is a sizable balcony. And again, it's off this secondary bedroom on the second level. This is stunning. This is the suite that your guests are going to be putting dibs on. Even before they arrive. I get the upstairs suite. Beautiful built-ins. Have your dresser drawers stacked there. Plenty of hanging. Look at that. I like the rustic door too. See, it kind of mimics the 2 rustic doors that were in the primary suite downstairs. Okay, just to give you reference, back down this short hallway, we're heading back toward the living space. Passing the laundry on the left, just to keep your bearings. And you can't have too many good views, can you? So to the right, we've got a series of secondary bedrooms. Look at that view. Look at the outside view from here. Is that not incredible right there? Nice. Look at that. Look at the bank of windows in here. And look at the great window placement. Okay, so we could come into this room and they could have made it windows all the way around. Any room could do that. But guess what? When you do that, you no longer have what we would call a bed wall. You need a wall, in most cases, where the bed will be placed but isn't necessarily in front of windows. Now, some cases, a bed actually goes in front of windows, and sometimes it looks awesome. Sometimes not so much. But see here, look at that. See, those windows are placed perfectly. This is the bed wall. So traditionally, in designer terms, I'll back up and kind of give you a view. As we walk into a room, Traditionally, you want to walk in somewhat toward the foot of the bed or coming at like one of the corners. Can you imagine the bed right there? You usually don't want to come into a room and immediately walk toward the side of a bed. That is just a designer thing. It's going to happen in some cases. It's just how the rooms are laid out. But from a designer perspective, you want to walk into a room toward the foot of the bed, or toward kind of the corner diagonally. It won't be directly at the foot, but kind of diagonally toward it. Built-in closets, plenty of hanging. Beautiful. All custom built. Have a dedicated bath. Look at that, they continued the soft tones in here. Great selection on the floor. Have your soft. It's a combination of like a gray with just a hint of green in there, in the vanity color. Beautiful. Framed plate mirror. Here they had a little fun with the tile. I like that. Beautiful, kind of blue, not quite aqua, still in the blue range. Brass hardware. Took the valves over to the side again, which is perfect. Because in this case, let me kind of back up and show you. This is a doorless shower. You can probably see it a little better if I come to the ground there. See, the glass actually stops, which is fine because the spray is coming from the other end. And you eliminate having to have any door swings. And so in this case, with your sprayer and your head on the other side, much like the other ones we talked about, it makes complete sense to put your valve here on the right. That way you can turn it on and let the water heat before you step in. Beautiful design. Fun tile too. The color, I like kind of the arch. Kind of has a hint of like waves in it. I like that. Good choice. Look at that blue sky. Is that what Florida is all about right there? That is beautiful. The weather outside is nice. It's in the 80s. It's beautiful. And again, the community is Watersound Camp Creek. Have a lot of new luxury construction going on. And everybody's got kind of their own definition of what a beach home looks like. So sometimes people think, it's one thing, and then they realize, wow, you can have this level of luxury in a beach home? Then the next day they jump on a plane to come look. Another secondary bed, and look at these. Look at those bunk beds. And look at the capacity of the bunk beds. Look at that. You got 2 on the bottom, 2 on top, 2 different ladders. And like we talked about earlier, even if somebody is making this their primary residence and they're going to live here full time, they are going to have so many guests usually. And this just ups the capacity. It ups the level of fun. Maybe this will be the room that everybody's claiming dibs on. That is just awesome. Nice soft color too. Not quite white, just a little off-white. Beautiful. Same bright floors. They had some fun with the bathroom. Look at that, kind of like almost a starburst type of thing going on in the floor. Love that. Nice, simple designs. Kept the tile and everything really clean and simple. Stayed in the natural zone, though. Have your window in here, keeping it bright. Really, really nice deep tub. And if you've watched any of the videos, you know all tubs are not created equal. Love how deep that is. And as you look at rooms and look at the configurations, anybody can use any room. But, if you think about it, if you had a lot of family members coming to visit and you had these bunk beds, I'm thinking that maybe the kids are going to come running to this one. Maybe. I'm thinking so. And so I think when they build, they kind of keep that in mind too. So that's why you see maybe a little bit more fun kind of in that bathroom. You know, it's kind of, again, it kind of looks like a starburst pattern. And so you kind of get a feel of how the room is going to be used, and then you design for that. Have your walk-in closet on the right. Okay, I'll give you another view of it. I know. Some people just said, oh, I wish he would have tilted over the living space again. Into another secondary. Look at the size of that base molding. See, now that I pointed out, you're going to notice it. You're going to start noticing the base molding in all the homes you go in now. Still really tall ceilings, even on the second level. You know, sometimes you go to a second level in a home and the ceilings come down a little bit. These are still really tall. Might not be able to pick it up in the video, but there's a real shallow vault here too. It's real subtle. Have your walk-in closet, plenty of hanging, plenty of storage there. See a little more fun with the secondary bathroom. And if you look straight through, this configuration, it's a shared bathroom. So what it does is it is shared with this bedroom, and then straight through there you have a living space. And that's pretty common because at some point, you know, how many bathrooms do you want to keep adding if you can kind of combine them a little bit? So this is a really efficient use of space right here. Fun tile, kept the natural tones. They moved more toward a darker hardware in here. You know, we've been seeing a lot of brass up until this point. So this one kind of went with a darker hardware. Looks great. Large framed plated mirror. Straight across, beautiful walk-in shower. Kind of like an emerald green. It's more of like a traditional matte finish too on the tile. You know, we saw some gloss tile and we talked about that, how it kind of was, you know, kind of trendy. I like how this is kind of matte finish. You have your sprayer, your niche. Really nice, natural kind of brick layout in the tile. Same thing, really nice placement on the shower valve. And you love it when something is laid out logically, because all of us go in homes and, you know, we're constantly asking, why did they do that? Well, it's nice when you go in one and you're not asking that and everything just seems so logical. Have an infrared sauna here. Fits perfectly in that space. Look at that. So this comes right through to a living space, upper level. You probably caught a glimpse of it when we were panning from the gallery overlook area. And see, this could be used for so many things. Let me pan just a little bit and I'll give you a reference of where we're at. So we've made a loop through that bedroom there, that bedroom and that shared bath. So the foyer, we came up the stairs, have a small wet bar, beverage chiller, floating shelves. That tile is awesome. Perfect choice. So this living space, it could be just about anything you want. Large TV, it can be a TV room. You could make it anything. If you had a lot of younger people and they needed a gaming room, it could become that. Really, really nice. It's perfectly laid out the way it is though. Like how the furniture is spaced. Again, 3 large windows, keeps it bright. Just giving you a little bit of reference. And it's nice to have separate living spaces like this, especially if you're having large gatherings. You know, a family are coming in town, having one that's kind of set aside from the main living space gives everybody a little bit of room to kind of relax on their own. Okay, you ready for this? But maybe nobody needs the space because they're all going to be in here. Look at that media room. That is awesome. Everybody's going to be in here. Now I've brightened it a little bit just to show it a little better on video. You do have the blackout shades. I like the sconces, gives it that movie or that theatrical look. Love that. Have your soft recliners. Second row is raised. And you know, you could configure the seating however you want. You know, some people will put recliners like on the upper level. Some people might even put a couch lower down because maybe they want to lay down. If the lights aren't out, you know, sometimes people even want to play a game or something while they're watching a movie. This one gives you plenty of space and plenty of options for furniture configuration. This would be your media closet. Come in. And if you've ever tried to work on anything media in your own home and you're digging with wires and you can't quite find them because the space is so tight, well, that's not going to be happening here. Look at the space you have for all of your media. This closet is huge. So whether you need to tuck away, you know, audio, video, servers, and what have you, awesome, awesome space for that. Right behind the media room. Which is actually the front side of the home, because if you translate this to the lower level, we're actually over the garage. And when you think about that too, having a media room over the garage is perfect, because if you look ahead, see how kind of distanced we are from all the bedrooms, and then any sound, even if a room was soundproofed, you know, you're over the garage. So you're kind of disconnected a little bit from the rest of the house. So that is an absolutely perfect spot to place that media room. Really, really good design there. So I've stepped just outside of the living room, and look at this. This is the view you've been waiting to see, isn't it? Look at that. Your water features, your blue sky, 2-level porch. Is that not incredible? Right there. Look at that. We're back outside, obviously, so we do have a little construction, so you may pick up a little bit of that noise again. But again, what does that mean? That's right. Homes are coming out of the ground, and they're all going to be finished real soon. Beautiful presentation. Right off the living room. Can you imagine the lights glowing, evening entertaining out here? People enjoying the pool. Fireplace at the far end. And that area is the area that was behind the primary bedroom on the first level. And if you remember, we went to the balcony on the second level when we were overlooking the pool. So it's above and below. Really, really nice layout. Perfect positioning too. You know, you've got the entertainment here that connects by slider doors to your living room or your main living space. You come over, you have a second set of sliders that opens from the dining and the kitchen area right down into your outdoor kitchen. So you know the logic on how they laid it out is just perfect, because sometimes you'll see some outdoor living, but at the same time it seems a little disconnected on the placement of it all. Where here the placement coordinates or corresponds with the interior space. And I like how deep the porches are too. You know, so no matter what weather you've got, you know, you're well covered, where sometimes that's not the case if a porch is too shallow. Beautiful decking. Like those fine lines too. You know, because fine lines, tones, it all lends toward a feeling and presentation. Have your drains built in there? Well thought out. Earlier I mentioned that it was just barely an off-white, the paint that keeps it bright. See, here you can see that. So you can see the band is white, but the board and batten has just a really slight off-white, a little hint of blue that coordinates, if you remember the front elevation when we first started the video and we're looking. That complements it perfectly. So this would be just behind the primary bedroom on the first level. You have your fireplace. Can you imagine just, again, glowing evenings here? All that'll be happening after the construction's done. Nice quiet evening just sitting out here. And there is just something about glowing lights in the evening. You know, that's why those porch lights that people put up are so popular. There's just like an easy feeling about seeing twinkling and glowing lights. And that's why when you drive down 30A, so many places have those. It is just an intriguing feeling. If you go to theme parks, same thing. It just gives a wonderment feeling. And so I can just imagine sitting out here with some glowing lights. You have a fire going. And your guests are saying the same thing. They're waiting for their invitation. I like how they've incorporated that brick here as well. Probably the same brick as the interior fireplace. I like that. Have your hood built in. You know, in most cases, if you're gonna have an undercover grill, you're gonna need a hood like that. Beautiful base cabinets. Almost have a little bit of a, not quite a pickle look, but I like that. Kind of a washed look. Beautiful countertop material. You're already thinking what you can grill there, aren't you? I know you are. So we just came in the set of sliders right from the outdoor kitchen. Give you another shot of that kitchen. Everybody always loves seeing the kitchens. And look at the size of the island. You can really tell it from this angle. Look how wide that is. Plenty of seating. And you know, if you're entertaining, which is gonna happen at the beach, you need plenty of space to put out, I guess what we would probably call the buffet. You know, you're putting out plenty of food for the crowd that was just out playing either at the beach or at the amenities. And you need plenty of space for that. Look at the size of that. Got your triple hanging lights, keeps it bright, plenty of recessed. Is that not just stunning? And see, this is exactly what I was mentioning. You know, they incorporate a lot of natural tones, and it just makes the house feel so comfortable. As you saw through the video, you know, there's some splashes of colors and design elements that will remind you that you're at the beach. You know, in terms of tile and design, the shapes. But the natural finishes also kind of give you a feeling of, hey, we're at home and this is super comfortable. And again, this is Watersound Camp Creek. Now there are different water sounds, so as you research it, you want to be sure to look for Watersound Camp Creek. And the amenities out here in the Watersound collection as a whole are just off the charts. So let me just quickly give you just a quick shot of the amenity sheets. And if you want to pause the video, you can kind of look at those. But it is just amazing, the amenities in Watersound. And that'll just kind of give you a preview. I'm going to flip over and you'll see some rates for some itemized things. And those may change over time. So if you're watching this video far in the future, you know, that information may be a little different, but this will give you a little bit of a glimpse for today. And this is just the back sides of those sheets with some additional line item things. So this may just give you an idea. And again, if you look at it in the future, those may alter a little bit. But as of today, that gives you an idea of everything that's offered in Watersound. And it is simply amazing. So what'd you think about that? Over 6,600 square feet, luxury living right here on 30A in the Watersound Camp Creek community. And I don't think you can dispute the home is awesome. It feels like home. They've incorporated so many natural finishes throughout, and they've put enough color in there too to make it fun like the beach. Your guests are simply going to be arriving and putting dibs on what bedroom they get. My name is Sean Larson, real estate broker here on 38, and again, in the Nashville real estate market as well. And if I can answer any questions, please reach out and I'll take great care of you. I hope you have a fantastic day.